Oh, wow. Ba, 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 da, ba. It's a Sharky. It's a Sharky, everyone. 1-800-449-8255. It's urgent. This is an urgent review. Emergency. I've got to beat all the indie kids and all the cool hipsters who are all David Bowie experts like Lady Gaga. Oh, yeah, Lady Gaga. She knows Bowie because she was born in like 1988. Of course, she knows David Bowie low. Yeah, how the fuck would Shark know anything about Bowie, huh? Me, Clark the Shark, at 1-800-449-8255 from the fabulous golden EIB Sharkraphone. And what's weird about this album, you guys, is I bought every other Bowie album back in the 80s, 1983 when I was 18, 84 when I was 19. This is the last Bowie album I bought. And I remember when I bought this, I was kind of I was young and ignorant, and I didn't like it. I was like, me, Sharky, I like scary monsters and heroes and, young Americans way more. I don't even like this album. But of course, over time, me, Clark the Shark, at 1-800-449-8255, the fabulous Sharky, from the golden EIB Sharkraphone. It's not a microphone, you guys. Slowly, with evolution over time, I began to love David Bowie low. And of course, all the Berlin trilogy stuff. When Bowie was in Berlin all those years in the late 70s, and also Iggy Pop, the Idiot, was recorded right in there with these albums. And I basically consider Iggy Pop an extension and kind of de facto David Bowie music, as lots of critics do, not just Clark the Shark, at 1-800-449-8255 on the fabulous Clark the Shark Show, the most famous record reviewer on YouTube. Well, greatest known in the Milky Way and Andromeda and billions of other galaxies. They will all tell you all the UFOs and guys that look like squid that fly around in silver little spheres, and then they get filmed on YouTube. Yeah, you never really get a close-up of them, but you get these little lights and you're like, oh, there's a UFO, and I know he's a fan of Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255. Everybody on Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Venus, and especially Uranus, they love Clark the Shark, and they love David Bowie low. This album, which is so amazing, it took me a while to get into this album, you guys. 1977, but it was recorded in 1976, and Bowie patches together this album, in Berlin. Who knows, maybe even Iggy Pop is on the album, that guy right there. I don't know, I don't even care. I know Tony Visconti has a lot to do with it. And so does she, her, whoever she is. She probably came from Oxford. Bowie brought her in from Oxford. There's going to be a picture of Oxford here, you guys. I guarantee you. Who's he? He's from Oxford. Is that Visconti? No. That's like Robert, whatever. But there he is. He's no longer Ziggy Stardust. Now he's like the man who fell to earth. He's this new late 70s guy that always hangs out with Iggy Pop. But man, what an album. What a drummer. What a great... Oh, dude, fuck yeah. It deserves 5 stars, you guys. Even though this album to me sounds a little incomplete, cold in the middle, half-baked. Like it's got to go back in the oven and, there's got to be more. But, speed of life, love it. Gosh, what a song. All 246 of Speed of Life, man. Killer. Uh, Everything. Just Bowie does a lot. Keyboards, piano, electric piano, guitars, overdubs. It's a weird little. This is nothing like any of the Bowie albums before it. Nothing like any of them. This was totally risk taking, taking chances, and breaking glass, man. Baby, I've been breaking glass in your room again. Such a wonderful person. But Sharky's got problems. That's what they all say in the South Bay. They're like, Shark is such a wonderful guy, but he's got problems. Maybe he's breaking glass in his room again. And what in the world should Shark do? What in the world should I do for your love? I'm just trying to get your love. What in the world, you know? And Sound and Vision, one of the greatest Bowie songs, maybe a little too short. Sound and Vision. I wanted this song to be like 4 minutes and 30 seconds, but it's only 3:03. But what a song, you guys. What an intro to a great song. Sound and Vision. You know, when you guys listen to this David Bowie album, you're going to say the same things as Clark the Shark, and you might think like Clark the Shark. You're going to be like, man, I wish this album was longer. I wish these songs were more complete. It's a little bit like the Who, Tommy. It's half-baked. It's cold in the middle. It needs overdubs. It needs so much more, you guys, and yet you still love it. And there's this big part of your brain that's like, you know what? This album is complete. I love it just the way it is. Just for Sound and Vision alone, what a song. And Always Crashing in the Same Car just might be my favorite song on the album. I love it. Hold on, you guys, maybe not. Be my wife, share my life. Be my wife. I love that song, you guys. You know I do. Clark the Shark. But that might be the best song on the album. But A New Career in a New Town. It really sounds like a song called A New Career in a New Town. And I'll never forget when I got down to San Diego, Oceanside Vista, Carlsbad in 1997. It wasn't really a new career. I was still a swimming pool cleaner. But I heard this song in my head. A New Career in a New Town. Me, Clark the Shark, I'm from Torrance and Redondo Beach, and suddenly I was down in San Diego, North County, all alone in 1997. Just me cleaning swimming pools and trying to make it. The rent was a lot cheaper back then, but I was making it, you guys, and I went on to do like 25 years down there, something. Had a good time in San Diego. I married me wife, Felida, down there. It was great, but not as great as Warzawa. I love Warzawa, and it's such a gloomy, doomy song. You almost feel like you're in Poland, standing in a bread line. It's so gray and cold and bleak. It's like The Who, Quadrophenia, or maybe Rush, Grace Under Pressure. But it's not. It's Warzawa by David Bowie. It's cold, it's bleak, and it's just miserable. And you're in a bread line in Poland or Russia, in a radioactive bread line with dust blowing cold on the ground. I love Warzawa. What a song. Art Decade, man. Fucking amazing. Oh, side 2's amazing. Weeping Wall. But Subterraneans, good God, what a song. Side 2 is incredible, you guys. David Bowie, Low. The experimentalism on this album. It's almost like David Bowie doesn't even know what he's doing here. Like he's just lost and confused, and he's just halfway through this album, he's like, what the fuck am I even doing? I'm lost. I'm David Bowie. I'm one of the greatest guys in rock, but he's just lost on this album, you guys. And in his being lost and stabbing in the dark and poking around, he accidentally creates one of the greatest albums ever. An atmospheric, dark, evil, twisted album of sometimes bright and happy poppy dance tunes. It's almost like way ahead of its time. It's like electronica. It's like 80s rock. It's in 1976, but if you guys listen to this album sounds like it's from 1983 or 1982. It's way ahead of its time, you guys. David Bowie Low. And you know me, Clark the Shark. I am the expert on David Bowie. Don't listen to anyone else. Don't listen to that one guy reviewer on YouTube. Don't listen to any other reviewer about David Bowie. Don't listen to Lady Gaga or fuck, dude, that retard from Nirvana or Dave Grohl or, you know, any of them, dude. Paul McCartney, fuck that. You listen to Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255 from the golden EIB Sharkraphone. That's right, the Wolfman Jack on crack, because I'm coming to you worldwide right here on the most amazing Shark Radio, where I'm talking about David Bowie Low. I like it more than Station to Station. I like this more now than Heroes. I love Heroes, you guys. And I love Scary Monsters. And I love, just all the albums. Lodger. Oh, you got to hear Lodger. Great album. And Young Americans, which really doesn't go with all those late 70s Bowie albums, especially the Berlin. When Bowie recorded in Berlin, it was magical. I think Young Americans was recorded in California, like LA. And that's really like the last real David Bowie album. Station to Station, moving forward, is where Bowie becomes experimental. And in some weird way, he becomes David Bowie. I know his wife doesn't like those albums, and a lot of people don't. But me, Clark the Shark, I'm really kind of torn on the issue. I love old David Bowie. I love all the early stuff, but I love the Berlin trilogy, you guys. And I love, the Iggy Pop albums, I love Iggy Pop with or without Bowie. I do. But of course, there's something to be said of the magical, special David Bowie albums. I mean, and of course, later on into the 80s with Tin Machine and, Outside and Earthling, man, Bowie gets even fucking more incredible. He's amazing, you guys. And believe you me, don't listen to Lady Gaga. Don't listen to Dave Grohl. They probably don't even know David Bowie albums. I bought these albums at Go Boy Records in Redondo. I bought these albums at the Rhodium in Torrance. I used to go buy 20 vinyls at a time for $3 a piece at the Rhodium. And I brought home David Bowie Low. And I didn't like it, you guys. I was probably only 18 or 19 back in 84. But after a while, I began to love this album, and it became my favorite David Bowie album. But I love every David Bowie album, you guys. I love them. Even his modern recent albums. And of course, tragically, David would die in early 2016. And he would leave us too young at the age of 69. When I think of David Bowie, I would think this guy would live to be 125. And he would still be making albums even at like age 123. And unlike Paul McCartney or other people, like Dave Grohl that you just wish would fucking die, you want David Bowie to live forever because he's so special. And he was such a genius, you guys. There is no bigger influence on Clark the Shark from the Greenhouse Effect. And right here at the golden EIB Sharkraphone, the excellence in Sharky broadcasting. That's right, you guys. There is no bigger influence on me and my music and my Sharky broadcasting than David fucking Bowie, motherfucker. This guy who created this album, Low, and all those magical albums. Man, I love David Bowie. I know this guy went to heaven when he died, because if there's a God, just before David died, you guys, on Twitter, he made friends with God. And I know David Bowie's in heaven. If there's a heaven, he's up there, you guys, with Jesus and all the saints or whoever, Mohammed or Buddha or Shinto or Confucius or the dinosaurs or Adam and Eve or whatever, you guys. If there's a heaven, David Bowie is Lord of Heaven, man. He's seated at the right hand. This guy, such a genius, such a visionary, way ahead of his time. Every album is so ahead of his time. Every album, it's like this guy has ESP. He sees the future from deep, way back in the 60s. When he wrote Can't Help Thinking About Me, he's one of the first guys with that progression. Can't Help Thinking About Me, you guys. Listen to that song. And listen to the early David Bowie, his first album, his second album, man. The one, oh man, his first early albums, they're all incredible. He's incredible, you guys. Space Oddity, The Man Who Sold the World. All the great music. Hunky Dory. Ziggy Stardust. He just evolves and he gets incredible. And his voice is so unique. He's got a voice like, low voice like sandpaper and glue. You got to hear the song he writes about Bob Dylan on Hunky Dory. It's such a funny, ironic, and he writes a song about Andy Warhol. He's always funny, ironic, and serious, you name it. David Bowie covers every emotion, and yet he covers no emotion at all. He's like robotic. He's not even human. He's like an amazing robot, and yet there's still some funny. You could just sit down and have a cup of coffee and a smoke, and David Bowie would be like your best friend just for one day. You could be heroes. You could just sit down with Dave in a coffee shop just for one night. Forever. You could be heroes. You and this guy, David Bowie. Incredible genius. I love his music. You guys. Someday there might not be a Clark the Shark here forever. There's no David Bowie now, but you still have a Sharky to tell you about him. You can go to the South Bay, Redondo, Torrance, and Lomita and Gardena. They'll all tell you. Clark the Shark bought all those vinyls. He loves David Bowie like nobody else, man. And there's probably not an album I love more than Low. I love it. Forget all the other people like Billy Corrigan or Trent Reznor. Fuck those guys, man. Fuck them all. You listen to Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255 from the fabulous golden EIB Sharkerphone, because nobody knows David Bowie like me, you guys. And everybody in the South Bay, they know it. Everybody in Los Angeles knows it. Nobody knows the Thin White Duke like Clark the Shark. My voice, a lot of people say, sounds just like David Bowie. And maybe it's a happy accident. I don't know. Or maybe it's from years and years of me listening to David Bowie. But I love his shit, you guys. Great albums, great genius, poetic, atmospheric, studio genius. He would work and work and work on a song till it sounds perfect. And believe you me, not every David Bowie song is perfect. But when he sets out to write a perfect song or a perfect album, he damn near always does it, you guys. Because from a time from 1966 all the way to Tin Machine, as far as I'm concerned, with just a few exceptions, this guy David Bowie could do no wrong. Everybody respects him. Punk rock, country, blues, rock and roll, heavy metal, grunge, indie, dance, techno, electronica, you name it, jazz, fusion, everybody, Frank Zappa, everybody loves and respects David Bowie, you guys. And if you're a young person today in 2023, and you're born in 2001 and you're only 22 years old, I want you to go get into David Bowie, all his albums, not just Low, not just Heroes, not just Young Americans, not just Station to Station. I want you to get into the early David Bowie. Can't help thinking about me. That one album, man, with Space Oddity, all those great songs. The sun machine is coming down and we're gonna have a party. Yeah, yeah. David Bowie, you guys. Go buy the album, young people. Don't get into that fucking weak indie shit from 2007. Fuck that. You get into David Bowie, man. David fucking Bowie, motherfucker. You get into the good shit that Clark the Shark told you to get into. And I'm sorry if I skipped over or missed something for you genius liberals. Oh, liberals and Democrats, they're such geniuses. They know what's good for you. You need more government and more SSI and more SSDI. But isn't it ironic that Clark the Shark turned 58 yesterday and I got skin cancer? Isn't it ironic? But they won't let me on SSI. But they give it to people who are 23 that never paid into the system at all. Right here on the fabulous Clark the Shark Show. I'm Clark the Shark. And you just heard the word, the testimony, the gospel, the truth, and the only review of David Bowie Low that you will ever need. You come right here.